We're unveiling Fuse 2.0 today, and thanks for joining us on this live broadcast. It's not exactly live, but we actually recorded it because we have a storm. But we also have a blockchain week here in Israel, so we have guests in the office, and this is the first big event we're doing, which is like both online and offline, because we have big news to share with the community. So today we're announcing Fuse 2.0, which is really a long process in the last 6 months to really think how to build the network in the future, and what we learned over the last 3 years from working on payments for businesses and interviewing stakeholders and operators, and really trying to understand how this ecosystem will function in the future, and how to build a long-term sustainable model for payments and for business adoption. So really what we understood is that pushing business adoption in the crypto world is not a matter of just scaling or just doing privacy. It's really trying to understand what value we can bring from decentralization to businesses worldwide. We also think we're going to be our focus is really building this into everyday, everybody can sit on the phone and use it in the palm of their hands, and every business in the world would be able to utilize this technology. So it's definitely something that we need to reimagine and think how it will work, because today's solutions are not really providing any solutions for businesses, and we hardly see any business adoption in the crypto space. It's mostly coming from retail adoption and institutions. So Fuse 2.0 is all about how do we generate more business adoption for blockchains, and how it will look like. So first thing that we really understood is that the users of our network, the primary consumers of the block space, so the primary audience that pays for the transaction, pays for the block space on the Fuse blockchain, is operators. Over the last 3 years, we saw 120 million transactions. We saw more than 1 million accounts, more than 1 million wallets. We had a chance to interview a lot of the people that are running on Fuse, and interview business owners and operators. And we really decided to draw a commonality between all of them. So the common denominator for all those operators are first of all, they all have a service they want to provide for customers in the real world. And they all using traditional infrastructure like Amazon, like Visa, like Stripe. So we really want to be a Visa Stripe alternative for those operators. And examples or types of operators, we can talk about sharing economy startups. Like for instance, I want to launch a food delivery service in my city or in my country, or I want to launch a rent service, or charity payments, retail chains, loyalty. We had a lot of businesses building around loyalty and around really places where we have communities or local communities, and it's just very either no institutions provide any services there, so it's practically impossible to build digital products, or we see operators in jurisdictions in the world where people are mostly using phones and they actually don't have any Visa. So we're targeting operators worldwide, and those operators are going to pay fees on behalf of their customers. So it's not to say that the customers will not pay any fees, but the operators will really be able to reach customers faster by utilizing a blockchain versus paying very high fees on Stripe and other platforms like PayPal. So that's really how we see Fuse as an alternative for Web2 companies that already use solutions like Stripe, and how blockchains can be an alternative. So really a lot of our infrastructure, a lot of the Fuse middleware, and a lot of the business solutions are really tailor-made for real-world businesses that we call operators. So today we're really starting to focus on this in our messaging, and also incentivizing operators to come and build on Fuse. And also, if you go to the Fuse website, you will be able from today see more case studies and talk about and really see how the Fuse platform is being used, and learn more about the operators on Fuse. Beyond the operators, we really thought a lot about how we give value for real world businesses. I'm talking about merchants, mom and pop shops. Usually those are not businesses that champion for decentralization. Decentralization is actually too of an abstract of a concept to have any meaning for regular businesses. And we really try to think from talking to those businesses a lot. We have a lot of track record with SMBs where all of us are coming from that space, and we're really looking into how can we envision maybe 5, maybe 10 years from now, a regular business, how it will it interact with on-chain data, off-chain data. And it's clear that while we were able in the last 3 years to decentralize transactions, there's still a lot of services beyond just decentralizing the transaction validation. There's a lot of other services that cost a lot of money for businesses, and a lot of value-add services that we want to provide. And some of them we can't really offer them in a centralized way, because really there's no advantage to use this technology otherwise. So we're talking about business processes and on-chain and off-chain data that sometimes not comes necessarily from the blockchain, like for instance decentralized off-chain data which is decentralized. We can talk about KYC information for customers. We're talking about businesses that want to access data about contracts. So for instance, indexing contract data is something that currently is being done on the Fuse network in a centralized way through the Charge platform that we launched. There's also other networks, like for instance the Graph, that provide off-chain data access. So really the vision of Web3 economy is that in the future there would be more services that are provided in a decentralized way. And a lot of those services, it's really doesn't make sense to get them from a single source. And also it's clear that we need redundancy in order to achieve scale. We can't really build everything on the ledger, but then access all the rest of the data in a centralized way. We really need to think about how do we provide decentralized relay services. For instance, today we relay all the transactions on behalf of the user to the network, and this is a huge advantage in terms of UX UI. So the users are able to sign a transaction, and a lot of the heavy lifting is being done behind the scenes by using a relay service. One of our objectives is to also decentralize this relay service, also decentralize bridging and oracles, and really prevent this central point of failure. Maybe the ledger is decentralized, but all the services that are running it or running on top of it are centralized, and that means that we can't really scale beyond where we are right now. So power validators are a way to take regular validators. Of course, we would need to change a lot of the tokenomics. We would need to require higher staking requirement, and we definitely need less power validators than regular validators. And the real objective here is to take our existing tokenomics, add power validators, and add a new infrastructure that they will run that allows us to decentralize not only the transaction verification, but also a lot of value-add services. We are going to start with decentralizing a relay service, which is currently very, very centralized. And that's something that we want to use our existing networks and really existing tokenomics and vote on changes that need to be done in order to add this new type of player. So we're going to discuss the tokenomics with the community and talk about incentivizing power validators, which are a very, very special type of validator. And of course, it gives a new utility for the Fuse token, because other than incentivizing power validators, we would be able to also use the Fuse token to purchase this data. So we could use the Fuse token to purchase off-chain data, to use a decentralized relay service, to bridge tokens, or to access oracles. So that's really giving more utility for the Fuse token in providing value for real businesses. So that's another big change we're announcing today. Moreover, I'm sure that the community really wants us to announce, the plans in the next year. So we really believe that scaling is not a game of TPS, of transactions per second. It's more complicated than that. We're also not religious about specific solutions for scaling. We believe that scaling needs to come with other parameters in mind. And our approach to scaling is we believe that the short-term approach and the long-term approach can really work together. So in the short term, we see simple transactions being done off-chain in a private way. And this is why we are going to focus in the short term on launching a mobile private rollup. So when I say mobile, it doesn't mean that it will work only on mobile, but it's going to provide an extra seamless experience on mobile. And the most important thing, it needs to be practical for business. So it means that this is also a solution for us to provide a layer of privacy. The holy grail, of course, is on-chain scaling. We believe that there needs to be a fee market on-chain. We don't think it needs to be something we do in a rush. In the next 12 months, we're going to build together with our community a roadmap for scale. And we believe that we can fully migrate to this new consensus in a year from now. We're going to talk about our roadmap in the next few weeks. We're going to launch it during February. And a key thing on the roadmap is really converting all of those proposals to FIPS, Fuse Improvement Proposals, and vote on them and make a decision, because this requires participation from the community, inputs and feedback. And that's the best way to scale. We're not the first blockchain that migrated from one consensus mechanism to another. This is completely doable. And right now, the main contender is really the Ethereum model. And we're going to elaborate more about it. And of course, every FIP will come with a lot of technical explanations. But we have basically a roadmap for scale that we're announcing during February. And by the end of this year, we believe that we can do it to build momentum. So by Q4, we are able to scale beyond our current TPS. Another thing we're talking about in our new white paper, which is published today, which we're going to release today, is the privacy and business solutions. So as I mentioned, privacy is essential for business. It just doesn't make sense for a merchant to ask for money and then all of his competitors can see how much he earns. This is maybe good for a pure digital internet economy or something, truly experimental. But if you're looking at real world usage and real world business and accounting and invoicing and payments, regulations, we're talking about a very established market, and we need to adapt to it. And of course, adding privacy layer on top of it is one of the things that we need to do. But it was clear that it doesn't make sense that everybody can see what you hold in your wallet in the real world. So that's something that is good if you want to access, if you have NFTs. It's a nice feature. But transparency out of the box is great as for the base layer. We believe that for real world applications, privacy is not really important, but it's not really practical without it. First adoption will probably won't make it a big priority, but over time, the blockchain that will win, the solution that will win, is the most practical solution, and privacy makes money fungible. So without privacy, if everybody can see what you're doing, it's not really. I'm not talking about tax evasion. I'm talking about mixers. I'm talking about just making sure that when I'm sending money, only the sender and the receiver can see this transaction, like in the real world. So that's something that we want to push forward, and we're elaborating about this in our roadmap and also in the white paper. Another thing that we want to enable using privacy is smart user accounts. So we've been using it in an experimental way. We've been building account abstraction since day one, 3 years ago, when it was less fashionable. We've been doing fee abstraction since day one and relay service. So we really try to use standard systems and standard products. And we started when it was really early. So all of our infrastructure is built around that business logic. Fee abstraction enables us to do stuff like cashback, like revenue share, like subscriptions. Smart user accounts let us do advanced things and think about new business models and do KYC and reusable KYC and automate things on behalf of the user and rate limits and social recovery. And the list goes on and on and on. It's just a really big value add. And today we want to say that we really want to turn those primitives, those abstract concepts, into first-class citizens on Fuse. So everything here will be going through a FIP, Fuse Improvement Protocol proposal. Sorry, we're going to convert those abstract and experimental concept into basic primitives inside a blockchain that every company and every business and even private developers can access. So that's something that you can read about more in our white paper. Last but not least, we're announcing our new branding. So the new website, fuse.io, is live. You can check out everything I said on the website. If you find broken links, tell us. It's launched like a few minutes ago. We have new branding. We're gonna showcase it and talk about it more on our Twitter. So make sure that you're subscribed on all our channels. And you can read about our technical roadmap in the next few weeks. And we're going to ping the community with all the updates. There's also an AMA on Thursday. So there's a lot of stuff you can read about. Please don't forget to subscribe to get notifications when our roadmap is out. I believe it would be during February, by the end of February. And good luck for everybody. Thanks for tuning in.